let's see, we did pick up, I think, some new weapons in the previous mission that we might want to take a quick look at, including the Grawl Spike Thrower, which is an unusual weapon. It's a shotgun. The Grawl is one of a long line of Krogan weapons used to hunt Thresher Maws. Its ammunition consists of oversized flechettes meant to pierce Thresher hide and create deep wound channels leading to massive blood loss. For additional firepower, the weapon is double-barreled and, as a last resort, possesses blades to cause internal injuries if the wielder is swallowed by the Thresher. Using a Grawl on a humanoid target has predictably grisly effects. Its shots can be charged for more damage, so kind of similar to the Acolyte in that way, in that it does also charge. You can fire it immediately, whereas you can't do that with the Acolyte, so in that way, it's not exactly the same. You charge it, and I believe in doing so, if you do, you get, I think it goes up to double damage in that case. And in terms of how it compares to other weapons, as you can see here, from a stats standpoint, it's a little heavy. It does have high, I mean, the Eviscerator right next to it is a comparatively very light shotgun, so that's a little bit of an extreme case. But Katana's also the starting one. It's also on the lighter side, but high damage, high weight, and surprisingly accurate is kind of the deal with the Grawl. But it is a little out of the ordinary because it has that charging mechanic that you can or cannot use, depending on, you don't need to use it if you don't want to. But the other thing is that it fires projectiles that are a little bit slow, and so you do need to lead your opponents if you're shooting at them, and that certainly takes some practice. So it's an odd one for those reasons. So that's the Grawl. Then we also picked up a new pistol, that being the Phalanx, which I believe, yeah, it was definitely in Mass Effect 2. And so the M5 Phalanx is the product of the Alliance Offensive's Handgun Project, a close-in weapon to be used with no loss of stopping power in comparison with a soldier's assault rifle. The Phalanx enjoys a ballistics advantage over most heavy pistols. Civilian variants are often purchased by colonists on planets that have particularly dangerous big game animals. So I think, if I remember correctly, the deal with the Phalanx is that it's a pretty well-rounded weapon. It's, as you can see there, the damage number is fairly high. I mean, that's in comparison to the Predator, which is very low damage, but has a pretty solid rate of fire for a pistol. So it's slower. Actually, I mean, the fire rate here looks the same. I think it might be slower than the Predator, though. It's basically an all-rounded pistol, fires a little bit slowly, but deals decent damage per shot, reasonable accuracy. In Mass Effect 2, I think it had a laser sight. I don't think it has that in Mass Effect 3, though. So, you know, if you're still on the Predator, you haven't found any other pistols that have been to your liking, then Phalanx is a solid option. But we will stick with the Acolyte, because we have a specific need for that, since we are primarily trying to get rid of shields. Are you okay? Is it sleeping? Kind of, sort of? I'm just a little alarmed by how we don't even see its name popping up when we hover over it. No way to interact with it, which makes me a little more concerned about the current state of our robo-dog. Okay, so Trainer did inform us about this other mission, the Cerberus Fighter Base. So Admiral Hackett has requested assistance with a Cerberus Fighter Base on Novaria, and that name should sound very familiar, because that is a place where we had a main quest mission in Mass Effect 1, the one where we, well, found the Rachni Queen, along with Matriarch Benezia, Liara's mother, land on Novaria to disable the base's defenses. Okay, so sounds like we could certainly do that. Let's save. Okay, so we do still have a mission on Tuchanka, and we will at some point, certainly, go back to help out the Turian survivors, which is, as a reminder, the mission that Primarch Fictus had requested that we do. We will do it eventually, just not right now. Do a quick check on the Arlac system and neighboring systems. Have we explored everything we want to explore? It seems like perhaps that is the case. Everything looks like it's at 100%. How are we doing on fuel, out of curiosity? We are not doing well. We might refuel here. Let's just see. So that's where the Cerberus fighter base is, in the Horsehead Nebula. So that's probably where we're going next. I don't think we had access to this cluster previously. Again, it was a cluster that was obviously in Mass Effect 1 because we went to Novaria in Mass Effect 1. But that means that, you know, there might be stuff for us to get. Just don't know yet. We also, in Hades Gamma, did a whole bunch of exploration. And we didn't quite succeed in getting everything because we got rushed out of a few zones by the Reapers. There was, in particular, one planet that we were able to scan and find an anomaly on, but the Reapers were coming and they were right next to us, so we had to run away before we actually got the thing from that scan. So it might be worth taking a quick look here and see if we can at least pick that up before we forget where it is. Except, oh. Hold on. There's something right here. It's 300 fuel. I was about to say, we were running low on fuel, and so for that reason, it seemed as though perhaps we might have needed to jump back over to a different system to buy some fuel before we headed out to any of these directions, but no, fortunately, there was fuel right there the whole time, and that was the last asset in this spot right here, so that's great. We are now done with the Antea system, but we know, I think it was the Caucasus system, where I remember specifically, maybe Farinata, where I remember it was the topmost planet that we scanned, and we had something that we got an anomaly on, but we just didn't have time to get it. So that's what that's what I'm most like to make sure we get here. Also, the rate at which the Reaper alertness is filling up here is significantly slower than what it was before, or whatever that is worth. So let's try to go Caucasus. It's kind of on the way. Is it this one? I feel like the planet was red. It was the planet that was sort of in this position, for whatever system it was. I suppose we'll scan this just in case. No. And way more Reaper attention than I would have liked. So that is unfortunate. On many levels. We are also a little low on fuel at this stage, so I would not turn down if we happen to find, not on a planet, they're usually just out in the middle of nowhere, a source of fuel, much like we saw in the previous system. We'll do a little zigzag in here for just a minute. No? Okay, in that case, now the question becomes, do we remember what we scanned before? Here's something there? No? Because we don't know what we're looking for in this case, and I think, unless we find something like right here, right now, I imagine that we scanned the planets on the interior here. Zayatair. We scanned Cho. I remember that. And we probably tried to scan right here to get the two of these guys. So I think we scanned this. We might have scanned this guy as well last time. And so in which case we doubled down on that, unfortunately. We are looking to... Oh, no, that's just you. We are looking to head over to Farinata after this, and unfortunately there are Reapers that are kind of blocking that route. So we could try to scan Treyarmus. I don't think this is the one that we scanned before. Or we could try to go for this little guy over here. I feel like this might have been the other one that we scanned. I'm fairly certain that we did not scan you. Let's give it a shot. It is not you. Let's run.
Reapers invading.
Reapers invading indeed. So we're going to run out of fuel. We're going to get to Farinata, but we're going to run out of fuel before we can make it back. Okay, the scan does still remain, so that's a good sign. That is good to know. So this is the one where, as I said, it was the topmost planet, so I knew this was where we wanted to scan. I just wasn't sure when we saw the previous system if it was that one or if it was this one. Now, obviously, we know it is this one, so let's scan. And what do we have here? Alliance frigate, Agincourt, so another war asset that belongs to the Alliance First Fleet. It sounds like something to improve the effectiveness, the military capabilities of that, and now we are done in the Ferronaut system, so that's great. That's good stuff. We do still need to find whatever it is in the Caucasus system that we are looking for. Now, we will run out of fuel before we make it back to the system that has the actual relay in it. I think we're going to get teleported back to that system, though, in the process, so I think we're going to be fine. Really hoping we don't somehow get teleported back to Caucasus. That would be bad. And I don't know if there are any other penalties. I don't remember if there are. Like, if we have to pay a credits fee for doing that. In fact, why don't we just, before we do that, let's exit real quick to double check. We are on 83,200 credits. Is that number going to go down if we run out of fuel? Do we have to pay a credit fee to get teleported back to the other system? Possibly. Possibly. So I don't think we're going to have enough to make it back. We definitely will not. Okay, so we do get teleported back here. Did we have to pay monies to make that happen? We did not. So it was totally fine in that case. Totally fine. So, sure. Not bad. In which case, now we can just use this relay, get out of here, and we will try to find what it is in the Caucasus system that we need on a later occasion. We could, of course, now try to go after some of these systems, which may make some sense if we're about to do a mission. Then, of course, it's a chance to get these systems reset in case they do get overrun by Reapers when we try to scan them now. Okay, so Hercules and Theseus, these all named after Greek myths, perhaps? Let's see, we have Zataurus, which is a hydrogen-helium gas giant with high-level decks of sulfur clouds. A layer of hydrocarbons has formed deeper in the atmosphere. Vast electrical storm fronts can be seen flickering across the dark side. That is odd? Is that naturally occurring, or the reason to suspect foul play? Elitania, now that is a planet that we had a mission on in Mass Effect 1, which, according to our theory that we've been developing here, means we should probably scan this. Elitania appears to be a world eminently suited for colonization. It is covered by a verdant carpet of mosses, algae, and lichen, and possesses a thick oxygenated atmosphere. However, its animal kingdom is a web of microscopic symbiotic creatures that are both impossible to filter from the air and necessary for the native life to thrive. Unfortunately, they cause anaphylactic shock if inhaled by non-native life forms. I do remember that in Mass Effect 1. It was a planet that had a hazard for that reason. And there were several missions here, or at least several things of interest. It was one of the most densely packed uncharted worlds. I think this is the place where there was a mission in which we, it was a mission in which we encountered some highjacks for the first time, also had a potential infinite morality point, or specifically Paragon point glitch, and also had a little bonus area that was hidden in the bottom corner of the map, in which you can get some interesting insights into what might have been some kind of Prothean research that they were doing on possibly humans, possibly something else. So, in that way, a very unique planet. Oh, did I read everything, though? I don't think I read everything. So, they cause anaphylactic shock. Settlement by non-native species would require either fully sealed environmental suits or a replacement of the entire planet's ecosystem. Limited colonization has been proposed for altitudes above the organism's range, or in areas where favorable winds keep the air clear. That does not seem all that intriguing. If it's like, hey, by the way, you're going to have a seizure if you breathe in this air because of the organisms that are the microorganisms living in it. But you know, don't worry. If you hang out right here, the wind will always be blowing in the opposite direction, so you'll be fine. But if by any reason, for some reason, by any chance, the wind happens to blow back, yeah, good luck. Like, you know, maybe I'll take my chances with not taking my chances on that. Then we have Zatharon, which is a small rock planet with a thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. The surface is scorching hot and mainly composed of sulfur with deposits of boron. Then lastly, Ceadid. The proximity of the energetic star Hercules causes constant blue and violet auroras in Ceadid's nitrogen-argon atmosphere. During periods of increased solar flares, the auroras are bright enough to read by on the surface and can be seen with off-the-shelf optics from a distance of several AU. Ceadid's scorching hot surface is mainly composed of magnesium with deposits of iron. A surprising variety of simple carbon-based life flourishes in a complex network of cave systems that wind through the crust, protected from Hercules' heat and radiation. Even though the planet is, at least on the surface, 523 degrees Celsius. That's impressive. That you found a way to live even in that kind of environment by heading over into the caves. Okay, so we're definitely going to scan Elitania.
I found something.
And that does reinforce our theory that we should scan it. Let's see what we get this time. And it's an interferometric array. I would love to say that I know what that means, but that would be a lie. Okay, so now things get trickier, because it is hard to say where exactly we would expect this next spot. Oh, I was going to say this next thing to pop up, but it's definitely right here. There is a non-zero chance that this will attract the Reapers. So we'll take the wreckage because it gives us, with this destroyed fuel depot, an extra 370 units of fuel. Are the Reapers attacking? They came close. They came very close. So we only have the tiniest little bit of fuel here, but that is the last of the resources, the assets in this system. Let's just see how far Thesis is. It is pretty darn far. And, I mean, if we were able to get there on 370 fuel, then we could make it there and then run out of fuel on our way back and instantly get teleported back for free. Which would not be a bad thing. But I still don't know that 370 is enough to get there. It would probably be close. So you could maybe make the case for it, but I'm not sure that I want to do that when, if we fail, we're just going to get turned right around and get absolutely nothing out of it and waste... Sure, we'll give it a shot. We'll give it a shot. If I had aimed properly from the beginning, we might have done it. Ooh, 29 fuel. 29 fuel, I believe, is the number I saw. This place is huge. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, let's work our way from the outermost layer to the innermost layer. We have Logan, also known as Wolverine, is a standard hydrogen-helium gas giant. The survey team who charted the system 20 years ago reported many strange disturbances in Logan's cloud bands, suggesting many remarkably large solid objects were present beneath the cloud tops. As the ship approached, however, they subsided one by one. These disturbances have not been reported again. Okay, we've seen a lot of things, a lot of descriptions on planet saying stuff along those lines. Very unsettling. Very unsettling. Then we have Sharing, which is the Caring planet. It is a standard hydrogen-helium gas giant. The atmosphere contains traces of ammonia, methane, and surprisingly large amounts of water vapor, making the atmosphere a striking mix of browns, blues, and whites. Of Sharing's 60-odd moons, 2 have diameters of over 3,000 kilometers. Both have signs of former Prothean development, suggesting Sharing may have been mined for helium-3. Interesting, perhaps reason to scan that place, but We'll see if we recognize the names of any other planets, because that is, as we were saying, usually our go-to strategy. Quana's frozen surface is rich with heavy metals, and the planet's higher than average density suggests further mineral richness in the depths. The atmosphere is composed of nitrogen and carbon monoxide. The remains of a well-developed Prothean mining infrastructure dot the planet. It seems like, for whatever reason, significant Prothean presence here. Abandoned mines are connected to dead cities by collapsed maglev lines. Unlike the crumbling skyscrapes of Pharos, Quana's ruins are reasonably intact. Oh, is Pharos in this system? That would explain a whole lot, I suppose. Unfortunately, this only made it easier for looters to strip the silent necropolis of anything valuable. Is this? It is Pharos. So, of course, we've talked about it a lot recently. It is the planet that we visited for one of the main quest missions in Mass Effect 1, where we encountered the Exogeny group, or the Exogeny company, and the Zeus Hope colony. And so, we may have helped them with an attack coming from both the Geth and also a mind-controlling plant. The Exogeny Corporation has founded a pilot colony on Pharos to explore the Prothean ruins that blanket 2/3 of the planet's landmass. The atmosphere is fouled with dust. Terrestrial travel is hampered by crumbled debris dozens of meters deep. There are indications that Pharos was a much colder world in the past. Pharos has 2 large moons, Orkan, the farther, and Vardet. So the Exogeny building is the capital for... It's kind of strange, but it's a small colony, so I suppose that makes some sense. And you know, the original place where they were holding down the forts, setting up their colony, may have kind of sort of been destroyed. So I think we will definitely scan Pharos in that case. Then we have Saitao, which is shrouded by a high-pressure atmosphere composed of carbon dioxide and sulfuric acids. The surface is composed of geologically young plains of volcanic basalts and rhyolites, with high concentrations of carbon and radioactives. Saitao is rabidly volcanic. We've heard that phrase before. Is that a thing? Did they make that phrase up, or is that actually sort of a term of art in the world of geology? I don't know. I'm starting to feel like it might be. A dozen supervolcanoes, 50 to 120 kilometers wide, are erupting across the planet. Saitao's carbon content and constant volcanism make natural diamonds plentiful, if extremely costly and dangerous to recover. And that was the last of the planet, so as I said, I think we're definitely planning to scan Pharos here. Let's just see if we can get a 2-for-1 value here.
Confirmed.
So yes, Pharos does have stuffs. How much do the Reapers care about this area? Not that much. Let's see. What do we have here on Pharos? It's Exogeny Scientist. I suppose that makes sense. Also, for whatever reason, that one popped up way quicker than all the other ones have. So, okay, more war assets. We're getting a lot of them here. And yeah, as we might have suspected, we tend to see 2 assets per system. That seems to be the case here as well. So we could try to scan planets, although it seems as though, generally speaking, what we've seen is you scan the planet that had a mission in Mass Effect 1, usually Mass Effect 1. I don't know if we've really seen much in the way of planets that had missions in Mass Effect 2. And then the second war asset has usually been some kind of fuel station or something else that is not actually directly on a planet. So we might just mosey around here a little bit and see if we hear if there are any things that pop up. Not that, because that was me sailing or flying into fall over there. I imagine it probably would not be very close to Pharos, but who knows? Who knows, really? Of course, there's still always the chance it could be one of the planets. I don't remember how close we need to get to the actual asset to know definitively. Here's something there. No. Don't remember how close we need to get to actually hear the effect. This spot is just huge over here. Hard to know definitively if we've covered absolutely everything. Oh! But I heard it. And it is more fuel, which gets us up to 260. The thing is, it's not terribly significant because, as we just saw, it took us just under 400 to get here, and we were just planning on basically running out of fuel and instantly getting teleported back to the system that has the mass relay in it, and not worrying about our current state of fuel. Hey, Reapers, don't mind us. That is the last asset here, but it's still not going to be enough. So basically, it's completely insignificant because the result is still the same. We will run out of fuel, and you hear the sound effect that is just taking us back over here automatically. But hey, I mean, it worked. We got everything from both clusters here in the Attican Beta, so that's nice. Gemini Sigma, technically we could also try to explore as well as that. Just looking at what we have left. This Petra Nebula, I think, was where we had the Academy, Grissom Academy, and we tried scanning it, we just didn't find anything there at all. So I think there might be nothing there, quite literally. Horsehead Nebula is where we're going to do the Cerberus base. So I don't think we tried the Ninma cluster here at all. Obviously, we've done Sigurd's Cradle. Strike Abyssal, I don't remember if we tried that, or the Minos Wasteland. But let's give at least one more system a shot here, because again, you want to try to do your exploration at least in little bits and pieces in between missions as much as you can, because if you do get stuff overrun by Reapers, then it resets and you have a chance to try again. Otherwise, you might be missing something, and you might only be able to get it if you run out of missions. You might only be able to get it by rushing into a system and scanning while the Reapers are still there. And of course, the Reapers catch you, it's game over, so good luck. Oh, well, there's something right here.
I found something.
Probably more fuel. That it is, it's 470 fuel. That is a pretty sizable chunk. And that moved very slowly, that Reaper alertness bar. That's a good sign. I didn't remember. There may not have been. Just take a quick check here. We open up our mass relay. Is there the Reaper symbol here? Or there is. I was going to say maybe that's why we're not seeing much. Maybe it's because it's technically not currently occupied by Reapers, but no, that's definitely not the case. Let's look at planets now. Now that we've found something that is not directly on a planet, I suspect we may find a planet that we were visiting in Mass Effect 1 that would be our next logical scan target. Patatenlis is a large rock world with an unusually thin atmosphere of hydrogen and carbon monoxide. Frigid World's crust contains extensive deposits of uranium and occasional loads of naturally occurring plutonium. With a total mass more than 4 times that of Earth, Patatenlis should have a significantly thicker atmosphere. This unusual feature has flagged it as worthy of scientific investigation, but the need for expensive amounts of radiation shielding has deterred interest. Next, it's Barkrothu, which is a standard hydrogen helium gas giant, and it's only distinguished by its moons. Several dozen of them have been sculpted into the likeness of an arthropodal alien race not yet known to Council Science. We do kind of know a species, an alien race that does kinda sorta have an arthropodal-like appearance. Not referring to Reapers by any chance, are you? I certainly hope not. Radiometric dating suggests the moons were worked over 500,000 years ago. I mean, it was either... I don't think it was the Reapers directly. It might have been some kind of species that got indoctrinated by the Reapers that made or carved out those moons in order to honor the Reapers. Or it might just happen to be an old species that had long since been harvested by the Reapers, and they were making it to look like themselves. Okay, Mavagon. That is a place we visited in Mass Effect 1. Mavagon is a small rock and ice planet with a thin atmosphere of ammonia and methane. The surface is frozen and mainly composed of tin with deposits of potassium. The planet has a rudimentary ammonia-based life, mainly concentrated around geothermal vents deep underground. Severe storm cycles are common. Due to limited visibility, navigation may be difficult. And it is very cold. Negative 124 degrees Celsius. We went there anyway. Pretty sure that place had a thresher. So we will probably end up scanning that. Then we have Hunting 2, which is a Jovian-sized gas giant with a standard hydrogen-helium atmosphere. Traces of methane give the planet its distinct cobalt blue tint. Spectral analysis indicates its extensive ring system is mostly composed of ice crystals. Hunting 2 has an exceptionally powerful magnetic field which creates strong radio interference throughout the inner system. Then lastly, we have Aravin, not to be confused with Palavin. It is not the Turian homeworld. This is not the Turian homeworld. Palavin is. Paravin is a small, unremarkable rock world. Surface is scorching hot and mainly composed of calcium with deposits of aluminum. Paravin's low mass has left it tidally locked to the star Han. If there were any resources of value, mining stations could be established on the relatively temperate Twilight Band. Okay, so let us scan Mavagon, and maybe we try to be close enough that we can possibly catch the edge of Hunting 2 just in case. Well, there it is, as expected, and okay, here come the Reapers. Well, they aren't actually here yet, fortunately. Don't think they're invading us at this moment. And here is the anomaly. Watch us get a war asset for pressure maw. No. We get some credits. So, nice little bonus, but nothing too crazy. Let's see. Do we have enough fuel? Go to a different system. We have 470. That is pretty far. 470 might be just enough. Do we do a similar test of what we did before? Perhaps. Let's try it. Gotta go a very direct route here. So we're gonna run out of fuel on our way back. But if we have enough to get here... Ooh, trajectory was not perfect, but hey, 97. We made it work. Wow. That is a big star. Hear something there for a second? Nope. I mean, well, naturally, whenever there's a huge star like this, we need to fly directly into it. It's imperative for testing procedures, of course. We have Ultanorc, which is a small but typical hydrogen-helium gas giant with no outstanding features. Sorry, dude. You're not outstanding. Its combination of strong magnetic field and relatively shallow gravity well make it a popular stopover world for discharging FTL drive cores. I mean, that's something notable. Okay, we can try seeing if we hear anything in this asteroid belt. I did see that we scanned 2 things in the other system, and this is the only other system in this cluster, and this cluster was at 50% explored, which means there have to be 2 things in this system right here. One of which may be in the asteroid belt. Listen for the little boop. But I don't hear it. Okay, next we have Parag, which may have been a planet we visited in Mass Effect 1. Sounds vaguely familiar. Parag is a large rock planet with an atmosphere composed of nitrogen and argon. Despite lying over 600 AU from Ming, super far away, its surface is scorching hot and mainly composed of alumina with deposits of silver. It's probably scorching hot because that star is ginormous. Due to the radiation and heat, landing on Parag's sunward side with anything less than warship-grade shielding will likely be fatal. Parag rotates at a retrograde to the rest of the Ming system, indicating it is likely a captured body. Whoa! I mean, I hope we weren't landing here, or at least certainly hope we were not landing on the star-facing side. Otherwise, we would absolutely get instantaneously melted. 1,117 degrees Celsius will do that to you, generally speaking. Then we have Enteropus, which is a hydrogen-helium gas giant that formed in the outer regions of the Ming system, and in the process of migrating inwards. In a few million years, the planet's atmosphere will begin to boil away into space. That's cool. There's a sizable temperature difference between the side of Enteropus facing the energetic blue giant primary and the side facing the cold of deep space. This variance powers massive cyclonic wind systems. The intense heat it absorbs from the sun, in addition to its own internal heat engine, causes the planet's dark side to radiate faintly in the infrared. Okay, so I think, especially because we have two planets right next to each other like this, we'll go for a double scan, or a single scan here that we hope hits both planets.
Signal confirmed.
Okay, the Reapers are very keen on swarming this position, but we do have something at Parag. So let's check it out. What do we have this time? Alliance Cruiser Nairobi. And so that's part of the Alliance 3rd Fleet. Very nice. More war assets for us, and we definitely are going to get the Reaper's attention as soon as we are done with this next scan, so we gotta make this one count. But I think, again, generally speaking, what we've seen is there's gonna be one planet with an asset, and then one other thing elsewhere, which is usually fuel. It is generally out in the middle of nowhere somewhere, so we just need to hear it. Fortunately, the system is much smaller, but it's much easier to just give a quick run around like this, at least in comparison to where we were last. Oh, because there it is. Reapers are definitely going to flood our position here. It is fuel. It gets us up to 417, which pretty close to how much we had coming in here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to make it back, or if we're just going to get instantly teleported when we run out of fuel altogether, but we're going to try. Either way, we got to go. And I did not check where the Reapers were coming from, so there was a chance that we were going to end up heading straight into them. I also did not see the exact direction of the space we were looking to go toward, so the trajectory was not perfect, but we saved 29 fuel. We have 29 more fuel than we were expecting to have at this stage, so you know what? That's an accomplishment. That is an accomplishment, and we did get 100% exploration on Gemini Sigma, so that's awesome. So that means we are almost done with these three. The Hades Gamma we'll try to circle back on a later occasion. Yeah, there's still a system or two over here that we've not explored, but I think we'll wait on those. They can last. They can last a little while longer. Okay, so now let's go to the Horsehead Nebula here, where we have the Cerberus fighter base, which is on Pharos, or rather not on Pharos, on Novaria, which is one of the other places that we had a main quest mission in Mass Effect 1. So fitting that we're visiting all of those, it seems. Okay, and the PAX system here is the only system in this cluster. That's why we have the red circle. We cannot go beyond these bounds, which means since we have a mission here, we should be able to scan to our heart's content without the Reapers showing up. Though sometimes we have found that Reapers just have not been hanging out in these areas at all. So, you know, we'll just do a quick few scans here, see if anything pops up. If not, then we will proceed on our merry way. It's interesting how there's a fuel depot here in this system that does not have any other places where you'd actually need to spend fuel to get to, whereas I think we've had now two systems in which we did have to jump over to another place using our own Normandy fuel, and there was not a fuel depot, so that's in large part what forced us to do what we did, where we either went to a different system and then used our lack of fuel to get teleported back to the mass relay, or we came very close to that being the case. But anyways, let's at the very least read up on the stuffs. We have Velis, which has a thin atmosphere of xenon and krypton. Most other materials freeze and fall as snow. Its surface is composed of potassium with deposits of magnesium. While investigating the primitive anaerobic life of Velis, what? Binary Helix survey teams discovered a cunningly hidden anchorage belonging to the ancient Krogan warlord Moro. Many records and artifacts of the Krogan rebellions were recovered and sold at auction. The empty base is now abandoned. Okay. Seemed awfully cold and remote for there to be life, but life will find a way. Then we have this tiny little Morana here, which is an icy planetoid smaller than Earth's moon. Many planetary geologists suspect it was once an Oort cloud ice dwarf that migrated inwards after an encounter with some other body. While the crust is frozen water, deeper layers are mostly silicates with pockets of magnesium and aluminum. Morana is tidally locked to Pax. The same side always faces the sun. And of course, we have the one that we are eventually going to go to, Noveria. As I said, we went to this in Mass Effect 1. This is where we met Matriarch Venezia. We met Gianna Parsini, who we've run into on a few occasions, at least in Mass Effect 2. I don't know if we've seen her in Mass Effect 3. Perhaps not. But, and also, of course, saw the Rachni Queen, and discovered the Rachni do, in fact, still exist. Noveria is a small, frozen terrestrial world, barely habitable by conventional definitions. It is privately chartered by the Noveria Development Corporation, who lease out labs for research too dangerous or controversial to be performed elsewhere. War has brought significant attention to this otherwise obscure planet. Noveria is home to some of the most advanced research in the galaxy, a sure magnet for Cerberus interest. Further, Noveria's mass relay is the stop between humans' Exodus cluster and the beginning of Solarian space. It's the link between the Solarians and the humans, okay. It is a safe bet that the Solarians will defend their borders to the utmost. And I mean, there's 405,000 people here, so it's not huge, but there are people here. It's not tiny either. And Port Hanshan, which is the place where we went to in Mass Effect 1, is the capital. So we will definitely land on there shortly. But let's take a look at Svarog first. Svarog is Pax's only gas giant, but its temperature, powerful winds, and high orbital velocity make it a poor candidate for helium-3 mining. While Noveria enjoys plentiful deuterium for its fusion plants, it imports all of its helium-3 out of system. Like most Pegasids, Svarog is thought to have formed outside the frost line of its parent star and migrated inward due to an unstable orbit. Its small size compared to the usual hydrogen-helium gas giant is likely due to its hydrodynamic escape. Since it orbits closer than 0.015 AU, meaning it is extremely close to its parent star, the planet's atmosphere is likely soon to be consumed. Scientific debate continues on how the other planets in the system survived Svarog's migration, as its gravity may have played havoc with them early in their formation. Okay, so the plan is still to go to Noveria for this mission. Before we do that, why don't we just hop out for a second here and save. Then, let's do it. So it is, of course, the Cerberus fighter base mission in question here. And this might be the only time thus far that we've gone and actually landed on a planet that we visited on Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2, obviously, we did Tuchanka, and we were just there recently. So that has happened for Mass Effect 2 locations, but, I mean, unless you're counting the Citadel, I suppose. Alright, fair enough, you got me. Yes, we've been to the Citadel in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. But, don't see, other than that, we haven't seen Therum. Oh, I thought it was in Hades Gamma, but apparently not. So no Therum. Theros, we scanned and got something, but we didn't land on it. No news of Vermeer or Ilos. And then, obviously, like we said, the Citadel.